Councillors, it's now 6:30 and I'll open the meeting and I'll call for apologies and leave of absences. We do have two apologies tonight. One from Councillor Jeff Budd, Deputy Mayor, who was on leave, and a second apology from Councillor Mark Rodder, who was also on sick leave. Could I have someone move we accept those apologies? Thanks, Councillor Impey. Seconded, Councillor Brooke. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Carried. Councillors, we'll now move into item 2 on the agenda, community consultation. We have two speakers tonight. In fact, we have one speaker who wishes to speak on 2 items, and I'll call Peter Gill to the podium to speak on 6.1.
Mayor, councillors, staff and visitors. The notice of motion at item 6.1 contains various questions and answers about the remediation of the former velodrome site. Clearly the site needs to be remediated that the UNE can proceed. If done on a commercial basis, the remediation of 1,000 cubic metres is a $700,000 project. TRC's quoted tip fees are $209 per tonne ex-GST. The refusal to provide an answer to the question of costs for GON raises the issue as to whether council is unduly inflating the true cost of disposal to resident tip users. By splitting up the scope, we have a quotation request for a contractor to perform the work with free tip fees and replacement fills supplied. Regardless, there are still costs involved for TRC in dealing with the material at the tip, the exhaustion of future tip capacity, and the cost to load and haul material either way. Whether the cost under this attempted quotation methodology will fall under $250,000 remains to be seen. At the 27 August 2024 meeting, a budget increase of $180,000 was approved for additional costs of remediation, listed as Inc. expenditure. The manner of this reporting infers that for the month of July 2024, the budget for remediation had been exceeded by this amount. Otherwise, it should be listed as increased budget for further remediation and an appropriate description provided. The version of the 2025-2026 operational plan and budget available on the website does not show a budget for remediation. Clearly, the costs involved in this remediation will come from somewhere, and most likely this will be from an area of maintenance or service provision. Whether the actions constitute order splitting is for others to determine. Clearly, there could be a vast improvement in transparency and accountability in this matter. Thank you.
Mr. Gill, you can stay at the podium and you can speak to your next item, which is 8.1.
8.1, Bay Trade Waste. Mayor, councillors, staff, visitors.
8.2, I'm sorry, Mr.
The situation and the precedents leading to this situation are acknowledged. I'm not anti-business. We're all in the water security equation together. Obviously, the situation that we have is that what is occurring now will transfer to the new operation. I would ask, as part of the motion, that the volume of trade waste be limited to current levels in order that authority to impact Tamworth's water security in the future is not an automatic entitlement. The situation with the reuse farm is noted. Are there any moves afoot to evaluate the long-term outcomes of having a seriously contaminated and devalued land holding and potential remediation costs as a liability? To what extent are ratepayers subsidising this now or in the future? As any development of recycling facility is some way off, perhaps 3 or so years, what are the plans for water security in the meantime? Questions need to be asked about how Tamworth and TRC have gotten into this situation with a significant development. It is extremely unusual that business proceeds with expenditure without guarantee of inputs such as water, to the point that they are now apparently taking a gamble on this trade waste application being approved. In parallel with this, there's an emerging situation likewise with the proposed pumped hydro, where the critical ingredient appears to be assumed by the proponent. Please, TRC, some transparency would go a long way. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Gill. We'll now move on to item 3 on the agenda, minutes from the previous meeting. Could I ask if somebody could move that they're a true and correct record from the last meeting? Councillor Mears, seconded Councillor North. Councillor Mears or any other councillors, any questions there? There being no questions, I'll put the recommendation they be approved. All in favour say aye, raising your hands. Carried. We'll move now on to item 4, disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest tonight? Councillors, I do have 2 items which I'm going to disclose an interest in. One is 8.2 because I have a farming interest with the company that's mentioned, and item 12.2, I have a son that works for one of the companies in that tender evaluation, so I'll be declaring an interest there. Councillors, we'll now move on to item 5, Merrill Minute. There is no Merrill Minute. We'll move on to item 6. There is questions without notice. Councillor Sharpen. Would you like to? Seconded, Councillor North.
Yeah, very briefly, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to note the answers to these questions and also note that most of them have been answered previously through emails from Exec Services.
Anyone wish to speak against those being received and noted? Any further comments? Councillor North.
I'd just like to back up what Councillor Sharpen was noting and it's you know, there's quite a few questions there brought up by Councillor Rodder, but I am pleased that we can offer some answers and show some transparency that we're being asked for all the time. There's a lot of questions that have come through from the community there, and we're able to provide some pretty decent answers, I think, in clarity, which is good to see.
Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation to be received and noted. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, we'll now move on to open reports. Environment and planning, we have no reports for the environment and planning. We'll move on to item 8, infrastructure and services. We have 8.1, regional traffic committee. Could I have somebody move that as the recommendation there? Councillor Sharpen, sorry. Seconded Councillor, sorry councillors. Seconded Councillor Sutherland. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Sharpen?
I'll reserve the right, thanks.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on that recommendation? There being no more comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye, raising your hands. Aye. Carried unanimously. Councillors, item 8.2, I've declared an interest. I'm going to move that I ask Councillor Sutherland if I can get a seconder to take the chair. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Councillor Sutherland, you might take the chair for 8.2. And councillors, while I'm at it, I'm going to ask you that my second My second disclosure of interest is 12.2, if I could also have support for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8.2, have a recommendation put up by the Director of Water and Waste, Mr Bruce Logan. The recommendation is that the agreement to accept liquid trade waste in the council sewer from Baiada, their new processing plant. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor North, do I have a seconder? Councillor Brooke. Councillor North, would you like to speak to that?
I will briefly. I wasn't planning on too much of it actually. However, I think we need to note that things change. We're open to that. We'll make things work. But the important thing is, from my reading of it, it's pretty important that all avenues are used and considered for planning for our industrial water recycling plant, and this is a key to it, from my understanding. So it's important we accept this. It's important that we encourage business to continue to be viable and have certainty in town as well. So I'm happy to support it. There's a lot in it, and there's a lot of work being put in by the water department. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Would any councillor like to speak against that recommendation? Any other comments or questions? Councillor Mears.
Yeah, thank you through you, Mr. Acting Mayor. Just like to put a question to Mr. Logan, if possible, please. That obviously it's litre for litre at the moment. We're not going to increase the volume of water we're taking through Baiada. But what, and I may have missed it in the attachment, what is the conditions moving forward if they go to stage 2, which is to double their bird processing? Do they then have to come back to council to speak to us about increasing the amount of water we take from them?
Thank you. Is that all right? Yep.
Mr. Acting Mayor, look, the answer to that question is yes. We've only got an agreement with Baiada in relation to trade waste acceptance for stage 1, which is the movement from In-N-Out Street out to the new plant, and they'll need a new agreement for stage 2 for trade waste. Council's already signed an agreement in relation to water supply, which may be sufficient for stage 2, but if it's not, then they'll have to negotiate, and council will give the opportunity to agree to a future arrangement in relation to water and wastewater for stage 2, and certainly for stage 3.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Brooke.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like just to echo what Councillor North has said and really highlight the importance of the proposed industrial water recycling plant for the future of our region. As I've said before in this place, and I will say it again, Tamworth is prone to drought, and we need to be investing in non-rainfall dependent water infrastructure before the next drought to bolster our water security. The proposed water recycling plant would reduce demand on local drinking and community water supplies by at least 25%, allowing TRC's growing industrial industry to reuse the vast majority of their own wastewater. So I've been disappointed in previous years when there has been somewhat of a softening of support from some councillors on the industrial water recycling plant after Baiada announced they would move ahead with their own in-house solution to this on the basis that it would make our plant economically viable. Personally, I think this is the most important infrastructure build as a council we can commit to out of any of the current or signalled projects for the future. And all levels of government should have buy-in to making them happen on the basis of freeing up water for human consumption to the people of Tamworth, Katingal and Moonbi. And it's part of the reason why I'm supportive of this request, both to once again demonstrate the need for this crucial water infrastructure within our LGA, but also to bring such an important core service under public ownership instead of effectively privatising it.
Couldn't agree with you any more on that. Any other comments, Councillor Impey?
Thanks, Mr Acting Mayor. I also have just, I guess it's a clarification question for the Director of Water and Waste, Mr Logan. In the information we're being given, the water use for Baiada will increase from 2 to 8 megalitres of water per day. With that additional 6 megalitres of water, keeping in mind that council may be providing 2.4, so an additional 5.6 megalitres of water, will that be supplied for processing through some internal means or mechanism that Baiada will be establishing? Is my question, I guess. I do support the others in that Baiada and the development and the investment in our communities is essential, important, and is very, very, very welcomed. But of course, water is extremely important to our community, and an extra additional use of water, potable water or water from our catchment, is something that we need to seriously consider. So I guess, sorry, my question there, Mr. Logan, is that where does the extra 5.6 megalitres of water come from that Baiada might need to use?
Mr Acting Mayor, not from council's reticulation at the moment. We can't supply that much water to Baiada. We're talking about stage 3, so we're at stage 1 at the moment, and there's a stage 2 which we have to agree to, and a stage 3. But as it sits at the moment, we could not supply 6 megalitres of water a day to Baiada's processing plant from our existing reticulation, and the impact on our water security would be so great that I wouldn't recommend we do that anyway. So that'll be a question of negotiation and agreement between Baiada and council if we get to that point and we haven't built a purified water treatment facility or something like that.
Any other questions or comments? No, with that, I'll ask all councillors in favour for the recommendation, please say aye. Raise your hand. Motion carried. Thank you.
Councillors, we now move on to 9, Governance Strategy and Finance. We have one report, 9.1. Could I have a mover and a seconder for 9.1, please? Councillor Sharp and Councillor Brooke. Seconded. Councillor Sharp, you wish to speak to that?
No, I'll reserve the right, thanks.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation? Further comments on that recommendation? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. We now move to item 10, Community Services, 10.1, appointment of community members to the Australia Day Working Group. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Sharp and seconded Councillor Impey. Councillor Sharp, and I notice you're the council rep on that. Do you wish to chair? Do you wish to speak on that?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I think it's a really a strong message the community has sent as just to how many applicants we had for it, that we've actually had to knock a couple back, and I really encourage them to apply again next time. But I really want to congratulate those who have made it on the team, and looking forward to working with them towards Australia Day.
Any councillor wish to speak against that recommendation? There being no speaking against, any further comments on that recommendation, councillors? No further comments. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Carried unanimously. We'll go to 10.2, Tamworth Regional Precinct Advisory Committees. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Move Councillor Brooke, second to Councillor Sutherland. Would you like to speak there, councillor Brooke?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm pretty happy with these revised terms of reference. I've been saying for a while now that sticking the landing on these committees is going to be one of the most important things we can do on this term of council. And while these terms of reference aren't what I would consider perfect, I do recognise a compromise needs to be reached. And I'm happy with some of the changes that have been included based on community feedback I've received, such as essentially a doubling of community member spots, including dedicated youth positions, and I thank other councillors for being open to those changes as well. For you, Mr. Mayor, now that we're progressing to expressions of interest for those community positions, I wanted to comment that democratic representation is a two-way street. Residents should expect their representatives to be active, open and transparent, but people willing to do the same also need to be willing to step up and represent their community. We have people in the wider region outside of Tamworth City that are passionate about the future of their towns and communities. If these people are listening, Mr. Mayor, I'd say respectfully, now is the time to put some action behind your opinion. We need people willing to represent their communities if this is going to work. And even if we disagree, if you have ideas on how to better your community, now's your chance to do that.
Any councillor wish to speak against that recommendation? Any further comments on the recommendation? Councillor Sutherland?
Yeah, just to add in that this is an exciting moment. I know that the conversation around trying to make sure the communities outside of Tamworth have avenues to feel heard and have a say in the strategic direction of councillors has been a point of conversation for a couple of years now, and so to progress it to precinct committees I think is a really proactive and great step forward. And as Councillor Brooke has said, you know, it's an opportunity now to be able to provide a space and an avenue for people to have input at that level. Just want to highlight the inclusion of having dedicated positions on these committees for young people. We have an amazing youth council, and we've seen the impact that they've had in providing strategic direction and input here within Tamworth. Also speaking across the region, because we do have youth councillors that are a part of communities outside of Tamworth, but to include dedicated spaces for young people in these positions, in these committees, I think is a great pathway of leadership, provides a great experience and opportunity for young people to build that capacity and know that there's a process through local government to create change. I'm excited to see how, from a councillor point of view, how councillors are going to get elected or positioned onto each committee. You know, you might be able to give some input into that. Is that through a draw out of the hat, or is that just out of curiosity? I don't think we've fully discussed that, but that could be fun. You know, but really in full support of making sure that these committees are able to provide that strategic direction. You know, not really in the operational space around the matters that are there, making sure that all the plans and priorities that we have for each community, they can provide input and some accountability on each one of those priorities, I think is really important, and this is an exciting space to be in. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Sutherland. The way our representation is going to be spread across the community is something for us to have a conversation about in the very near future. Further comments, councillors? Councillor Impey.
Thanks, Mr. B. Mr. Mayor, sorry, I will certainly support what's already been said. As we know, these precinct committees are the opportunity for people who have great ideas to come forward and strategically voice those views to build their communities into the future. These precinct committees, and I hope those who are listening through the web version tonight, and those who might read articles in tomorrow's paper and find out more about these precinct committees as the information arrives. They're not precinct committees that are designed for people who want a stop sign removed or the edge of a gutter slightly more rounded. They are there for people who have real strategic and big picture ideas to come forward to help their communities and their areas where they live grow into the future. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Impey. Further comments, councillors? There being no further comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye, raising their hand. Carried unanimously. Councillors, that takes us to item 11, reports to be considered in closed council. I'm going to ask the General Manager, has there been any requests for any of those items in closed council to be brought into open council?
No, Mr.
Is there any request from the audience and members of the gallery that any of the items in closed council be brought forward and the reasons? There is none. I will call for a motion to move into closed council. Councillor North, second to Councillor Sutherland. All those in favour say aye. Aye. We'll now move into closed council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this is the summary from the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 5th of August 2025. In council this evening, in closed, you considered 2 items of business. Both of those you adopted as per the recommendations in your business paper.
Could I ask if someone could move to accept? Councillor Sharp, seconded Councillor Brooke. All those in favour say aye. We'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you for your attendance. Before we